Hey guys, it's your pal Victor here from Cult Classics AZ and Cult Following, and today we are doing movie reviews. Today we are reviewing a documentary, and you're like, what? A documentary? Documentaries are awesome. I enjoy documentaries. So today we are reviewing You Cannot Kill David Arquette. That's literally how the theme song goes for this movie. It is about David Arquette and his life as a pro wrestler. You're like, Yeah, that's right. David Arquette was a pro wrestler. You see, back in the late 1990s, David Arquette, husband at the time of Courtney Cox of Friends fame and scion of the Arquette legacy of acting. You know, he's the brother Patricia Arquette from True Romance, and, Roseanne Arquette from Desperately Seeking Susan. Uh, David Arquette was well known as an actor. He done a lot of small dramatic parts. He'd done some fun comedy stuff. He's getting known for being the sheriff in Scream. He did a movie with Scott Conn called Ready to Rumble that was largely a paid advertisement for a wrestling league called World Championship Wrestling that was pretty hot at the time. It starred Rose McGowan as a Nitro Girl, and he was basically guy who loved wrestling, wanted to help his friend Jimmy King, become the world champion again. In preparation for this, or in promotion of this film, he got involved with this league, World Championship Wrestling, and in doing so, he became their world champion. And David Arquette grew up loving wrestling. His dad was the voice of Jimmy Superfly Snuka on the Hulk Hogan Rock and Wrestling Saturday morning cartoon in the 80s. So he grew up going to WWF, and he knew Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan and all these people. So it was kind of like, man, I'm really into wrestling. But what happened was he jumped into wrestling at a point in time when WCW's popularity was waning, and they were doing a lot of gimmicks to kind of keep people from watching the rival, the World Wrestling Federation. So they made him champion, and he was widely loathed by the fans. And as time went on, David Arquette's fortunes as an actor faded, and he wanted to be involved in wrestling, doing these conventions, because these wrestling conventions are really, fans love wrestling. They will spend their money to, $1,000 belts, $1,000 ticket packages to go to shows. During WrestleMania, there's usually tons of events that happen all around the sphere of that, and being involved in that is really cool. And Arquette feels, rightfully so, that he's been ostracized and seen as one of the elements of the death of World Championship Wrestling, which cost tons of workers or other wrestlers, or as they're called, the boys, their jobs. So Arquette feels like a redheaded stepchild, so he decides at this point in his career, when he has enough money to go on with his life, that he wants to reinvent himself as a wrestler. So he starts going through the whole path of being a wrestler. He goes to a small wrestling show, convention, and ends up doing some backyard wrestling, hardcore stuff where he gets messed up really bad. He has all these health problems, including with his heart, but he ends up going to Mexico and meets up with Diamond Dallas Page, who's also well known in the wrestling circles as kind of this guru who fixes broken wrestlers through yoga. And he kind of gets him going through the cycle of, you're going to build yourself from the ground up. So in Mexico, Arquette starts getting into lucha. And here's what I'll say about the film. I feel like Arquette's journey is legitimate. He wants to be respected. He wants to kind of reconnect with his roots. And we see a lot of scenes of him wanting, going to the Bob Barker Marionette Theater and all this stuff, trying to reconnect with himself. It's kind of like therapy in a way. But I do think a lot of the narrative arc in the film is manufactured, because, he starts from going to these, the lowest possible form of wrestling, like backyard wrestling. Then he's all right, I'm going to become a luchador. So he starts doing street lucha, which, if you've seen Vice TV's The Wrestlers, it's kind of that's sort of what the documentary feels like, in a way, that he's I'm going to experience all these forms of wrestling to find myself as a wrestler. So he starts doing street lucha, then lucha libre, then he starts doing independent wrestling, then he starts doing hardcore wrestling, and then he starts doing stuff for GCW, which is, higher end indie wrestling, and he starts kind of building a career for himself as a wrestler, and that's kind of fun. Seeing that progression is cool. You also see how like this affects his personal life. You know, there's issues with him and his wife, and you know, there's this really cool subplot with how he was in love with Miss Elizabeth, Randy Savage's valet slash wife, and how he thinks maybe that's subconsciously why he married his current wife, because she reminds him a lot of Elizabeth, and that even has a payoff in the film. Like, there's narrative beats here that are not organic, but it's cool because overall the film works really well, and it's really well done. I enjoyed it. There's a lot of touching stuff about his relationship with Luke Perry, whom he co-starred with in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer film. His son became a pro wrestler, and at one point, Perry and his son save Arquette's life during a match where he gets stabbed near the jugular with a piece of a broken light fixture, and Luke Perry dies not long afterwards. So, and you know, he wrestles his son. There's a lot of stuff going on here. If you enjoy wrestling, you will enjoy this documentary. If you enjoy David Arquette, you will enjoy this documentary. If you want to see kind of like the duality of an actor and the man behind it versus the duality of a man and the wrestler, which I think play really well in this film, this is something to check out. And the production values are good. Neon and Super Limited put this out. It just debuted at Fantasia Fest this past weekend. It debuts on drive-ins and VOD tomorrow, August 28th. So yeah, check out You Cannot Kill David Arquette. It's a very well done film. I enjoyed it tremendously. 4 stars. An explosion, a supernova, a constellation, if you will. It's really fun. I enjoyed it. It's cool. If you want to see more film reviews, keep checking out Cult Classics AZ. I'm actually wearing a wrestling shirt, Valor Club. Anyway, until next time, subscribe, tell your friends, ring the notification icon so you can get updates. And there is more content to come here on Cult Classics and Cult Following from Fantasia, film reviews, and much, much more. All right? Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and we will see you next time.